Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Glen Kuiper Show on a Sunday night after obviously a very busy day of sports. Of course, you got the NFL, baseball postseason in full swing. So I thought I would wait till all those games were done. The sports is done for the day and throw out a good show for you guys tonight. And I appreciate you for stopping by. As always, quick rundown of what we're going to cover tonight. Pretty simple show, pretty straightforward. The Giants managerial search, which enters its second week, starting tomorrow. We'll talk about some of the other openings that are out there in Major League Baseball and what, if any, am I hearing about what the Giants are doing, if they're leaning any which way. It's still pretty early in this process, but anyways, we'll talk about that. But I really would like you guys' comments on the managerial search. Some names I may throw out there, or names that you guys may throw out there. I'd love to see some of your ideas. Again, it's very early in this process, so we're going to hear a lot of different names. Some of it may be legit, some may not, but that's an area where I want to get some comments from you guys to see what you're thinking there. And we'll talk about the division series that are going on right now. Some surprises, some really good series, but it's a 5-game set, this division series, so you can't make any mistakes. But we'll talk about what has happened so far in that. And then we'll take a quick look at the 4 teams that got knocked out in the wild card series and see how they are set up for the future. Will they be back next year in the postseason? So we'll take a look at those 4 teams quickly to see how they sit moving forward into the 2026 season. So that is what we'll cover tonight on a pretty much a baseball-related Glen Kuiper show on a Sunday night. Now, the Glen Kuiper show is brought to you by Tilden Properties. As an investor, one of the best places to put your money is California's multi-family real estate. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Bay Area-based family-owned Tilden Properties has been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Go to their website, look at what they have. They're looking for investors all the time. You guys can get in on this. And I'm telling you, they are a very successful group who indeed have made a ton of money for their investors. TildenProperties.com, and the telephone number there is 925-209-8558. We're also brought to you by the Kehrig Real Estate Team. Since 1978, the Kehrig Real Estate Team has been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making your first home purchase, trust the Kehrig Real Estate Team to guide you home. Contact Mike Kehrig today for a free home sale or purchase consultation. Call them at 925-548-4132 and also look at their website, kehrigteam.com. And our final sponsor is Vallone Insurance. Vallone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged for your property insurance? Vallone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at 925-433-8271 at Vallone Insurance. All right, so let's get going with the show. But before we start the show, I've been gone for a little while. I had a last show, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. It was just had some fun stuff going on. I wanted to let you guys know. My wife and I and my daughter, we went to see my son, who is off at college, and he just celebrated his 21st birthday. So we wanted to be there with him. So we got to spend his 21st birthday with him. We had a great time. Actually had a couple beers with my son, which was pretty fun. So we were gone there for a couple of days. And then today I got to meet the newest member of the Kuiper family for the first time. My brother Dwayne's daughter, Dannon, and her husband, Zach, they just brought a beautiful brand new baby boy into the world. So my brother Dwayne is a grandpa for the 3rd time. And for the first time, he has a grandson. So we got to meet little Jamie today. He's only about 5 days old, so he's just a little tight, but it was great. It's the newest member of the Kuiper family. So it's been a good weekend, but I'm glad to be back with everybody and glad to be talking baseball, talking sports right here with all the great followers that I have, and I appreciate them. So remember, hit that subscribe button. We're gaining subscribers on a daily basis. Our views are up. Our watch time hours are up. So it's going great, and it's going great because of you guys, and I appreciate that. So, and remember what I said about this Giants manager search that we're going to talk about. I want to hear your comments about maybe some names that I'm throwing out there, but names that you guys may like. Like I said, we're all in this together. We're all searching together. We're trying to help Buster, right? Although I think Buster will make the right choice. I'm not so worried about that, but it will be curious to see what happens. So 8 managerial openings in Major League Baseball. Okay. Let's start with one of those openings that has been taken. Down in Texas, Bruce Bochy is gone after 3 years. Kind of a mutual decision, it looked like, with Bruce and the front office of the Rangers. And Boch did his job. He brought a World Series championship to the Texas Rangers. He did it in 2023 in his first year there. That's what he was brought in to do. That's what he specializes in. We saw it here in San Francisco. So he got the Rangers World Series trophy, the first for that team in their history. So he's done as manager in Texas. And I think this was pretty much all lined up, and that's fine. Skip Shoemaker takes over. He was with the Rangers front office, a senior advisor to their president of baseball operations, Chris Young. Remember Chris Young, the big, tall, 6'10" pitcher? He's the man in charge down there. Shoemaker was working for him, and it looks like there was kind of a succession plan in place there. So Skip Shoemaker is the new manager of the Texas Rangers. So one of those 8 openings has been filled, but only one. Next, you got the Angels, Ron Washington. Ron Washington had quadruple bypass surgery in June of this past offseason. He's healthy again, which is great news. We love Wash. He had a manager option for next year, a team option. The Angels did not pick that up. So Wash will not be back managing the Angels. So Artie Moreno, if he wants something, he's going to get it. And there's a lot of rumors about Albert Pujols. How about that? Albert Pujols, he's done some managing in the Caribbean and that, Dominican leagues and that type of thing. We all know what Albert's all about. One of the game's greatest players, a tremendous guy. And that's the big rumor. And again, it's just a rumor. And we're hearing a lot of rumors right now about these managerial openings. But it sounds like that could be the guy that Artie Moreno wants. And if that is the case, then it's probably just a matter of time before Albert Pujols becomes the manager of the Angels. But none of that is official. And again, we're all just kind of spewing rumors around. But, you do hear things and you kind of know how, certain organizations operate. So we'll see if that is indeed what happens with the Angels. Atlanta Braves, they have an opening. Brian Snitker, kind of his call, I think. It looked like he wanted to maybe move out of the dugout, maybe stay with the organization. But Snitker's been with the Atlanta Braves for 50 years, many different job titles in that time. He's had a lot of successes as the manager, won a world championship in 2021. But Snitker will not be managing the Atlanta Braves. We'll see if he wants to stay within the organization. My guess is he has that option if he wants it. So the Braves, you think about the Braves, very disappointing season. I mean, tremendously disappointing. But that would not be a horrible team to take over because they got a ton of talent. I mean, they got talent lined up and ready to go. Really, really good players right in the middle of their careers. They got some young pitching that's really looks like it could be dynamite. They just need to stay healthy. They need to wash away what happened this year. That would be a pretty good job to get because that team has a lot of talent. They could get back to winning next year, and nobody would be surprised by that. The Rockies have a managerial opening. That's a tough job. Bud Black was let go after 40 games. Buddy was there a long time. A really good man, good baseball man. Kind of a no-win situation, quite frankly, in Colorado. And I don't know that that's going to change anytime soon. The talent's just not there. And I think the reality is I don't know that there's ever been a remedy that has been found on how to win at Coors Field. It is an issue with the elevation and all that stuff, whatever. But I just don't know that there's been a blueprint ever figured out. And how can the Rockies win at Coors Field? They've had short spurts of winning, but nothing sustained. So that's a tough job. Somebody's going to grab it, but they're not going to win anytime soon. That's just the reality of this. But the Rockies do have the managerial opening. The Nationals, Dave Martinez, who was there a long time, he also won a World Series back in 2019, but he was let go in July. Nationals, again, have some good young players. How close are they to really, really competing? That I'm not sure, but they do have some young cornerstone players. And my guess is that would probably be a fairly attractive job, but we'll see what happens in Washington with the Nationals. The Twins let Rocco Baldelli go. I don't know if that was a surprise or not. Maybe a little bit, but maybe a little unfair too. The Twins traded a whole bunch of people at the trade deadline. I don't know that was necessarily surprising, but they traded a whole bunch of guys, including Carlos Correa. That sort of, ties the hands of the manager a little bit, because all of a sudden some very talented guys are gone. Some very talented pitchers, some very talented relievers are gone. And you're probably not going to compete like you had hoped. But anyways, it didn't matter to the Twins management as they let Rocco Baldelli go. I think Rocco Baldelli will get a manager's job quickly with all these openings. But anyways, there is an opening in Minnesota. There's also an opening in Baltimore. Brandon Hyde was let go after 43 games. So the Orioles very, very, the Braves were extremely disappointing this year. I think maybe the most disappointing team in the American League was the Baltimore Orioles. With all that young talent, they were ready, or they were predicted to compete. And they've seen postseason recently, but nothing went right for them. So again, that's probably an attractive job. Always a tough division. Boston's on the upswing. Toronto, New York, Tampa Bay's always doing their thing. So it's never an easy job going into managing the AL East. But the pieces are in place, I think, in Baltimore to have success. So great stadium, good baseball town. I would think that's certainly an attractive job. So those are the managerial openings outside of the Giants, which we're going to get to right now. But so we'll see. I think in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to start seeing these positions be filled. Because listen, can you really do anything before you hire a manager? And I know Major League Baseball doesn't really like teams to make any big announcements. For whatever that may be, whatever kind of announcement that may be, they don't want anything taking away from the postseason. So you may see the managers getting hired and announcements made by these teams. Maybe they wait a little bit. I don't know, but we're going to start hearing probably stronger rumors. So let's get to the Giants managerial search. And after we kind of run through this, I'm going to check out the comments because they're already coming in, and I'm going to try to do a better job of getting to the comments and because I want to hear what you guys are thinking, especially about this. This is a really, obviously it's an important decision, but for Buster, it's the first time that he's picking a manager. He's never done it before. It's a difficult thing to do. And you always want to get it right, but in this case, because I think, and I said it on my last show, I'm convinced that Buster just wanted his own guy. He wanted to be able to pick his own manager, which is very, very common. When a guy in charge, says, "Hey, I like the manager that's there, but I think I'd like to have my own guy." So again, always an important pick, but this may be extra important for Buster because it's his first one, and he wants his own guy. Okay, so he's going to be attached to this guy, whoever he picks. And the job itself, is it a good job? Yeah, I think managing the San Francisco Giants is an attractive job. It's got nothing to do with how I feel about the Giants. It's a very good organization. The guys at the top are good, and there's a pretty good nucleus there of players. Do they have some holes and things they need to do? Absolutely, but there's a good nucleus to build on. You have an organization that I think it's clear they're not afraid to spend money. The fan base is sensational. I mean, they got a nice ballpark. So there's a lot of good things that come with managing the San Francisco Giants. So I would think that anybody who wants to be a manager or anybody who may be on their list, they're going to probably, they would be attracted to this job. I think that's fair to say. Okay. So who are these names? And again, I've been digging around a little bit, talking to some people. Any names that maybe we haven't heard that maybe the Giants are thinking about? And the Giants are pretty tight-lipped. Buster's that way, and I don't blame him. I'd be the exact same way. So I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be throwing any new names out there, any surprise names that you haven't already heard of. We're all in the same boat here. We're reading and hearing stuff. And like I said, I've dug around a little bit, but no surprise name necessarily jumped out and said, wow, I didn't think of that guy. So I don't know, but I know one of the names that's out there is Nick Hundley. Hundley is with the Texas Rangers right now. He's a special assistant to the GM. I do know this about Nick Hundley. He is very, very well thought of in the baseball world as a really sharp guy. A guy who could run a baseball department at some point. But his name has been out there as a possible candidate for the Giants to manage. There's certainly a relationship there. Buster and Hundley were teammates with the Giants for a couple of years, 2017, 2018. They played the same position. There's a friendship there. There's a respect there. So yeah, is he a possibility? Yeah, I saw Hundley. He was with the A's in 2019. He's a sharp guy. He gets it. I think the question too is maybe does Nick Hundley want to manage? Maybe he wants to be a general manager or president of baseball operations. Maybe he would rather do that than be in the dugout. I don't know. But he's a guy who has not managed before, but he's been in the front office now for a while, learning that side of it. Again, so we don't know if managing is the route he wants to take. Maybe he wants to continue to work and build toward running a baseball department. So I don't know. But that is a name, and it's a name that comes with rave reviews from what I have heard. And, so that's a name, but again, we don't know what Nick Hundley's thinking. There was a story out that Kurt Suzuki had an interview lined up with the Giants. Kurt retired in 2022, so he has not been out of the game very long. He's been working in the front office with the Angels. So guys want to learn the game from away from the field. So some go coach in the minor leagues, others, go start learning how this all works in the front office. So again, that's what Kurt's been doing. Does he want to manage, or does he want to stay in a front office role and build up toward, running a department? I don't know that. Kurt's a young guy. He's 42 years old. I was with Kurt in Oakland for a long time. And I will tell you, and this has nothing to do with whether he's a good candidate or not. It has nothing to do with that. But Kurt Suzuki is one of my favorite players of all time. And it's got nothing to do with his talent. It's got nothing to do with how many home runs it's got nothing to do with that. He is an awesome guy. I mean, I've said before, two of my favorite all-time players, Marcus Semien and Kurt Suzuki. Why? Because they were just good, solid guys. They would talk to you. They would come up and talk to me. I'm just a broadcaster, right? But they talked to you. It wasn't just baseball stuff. They were, you could talk to them about family and just different stuff. And I always respected players that you could do that with, because there's some players where, they're like, they don't have any desire to get to know you because you're just a broadcaster, which is fine. That never bothered me at all. Or, maybe they weren't always comfortable about talking anything besides baseball, which is fine. I get it. That's not a problem. But I always had a deeper respect for guys who, weren't afraid to say, ask you about other things outside of baseball. That's why I love those two guys as human beings. So anyway, I got a soft spot for Kurt. If Kurt became the manager of the Giants, that would be awesome. And you know what? He's a sharp guy who would probably do a good job. But again, that's just a name that's been out there. There was a couple stories that he had interviewed with the Giants, which is certainly possible. So that's what I can tell you about Kurt Suzuki. We've seen an interesting name, the guy that's the head coach at the University of Tennessee, Tony Vitello, who's very well thought of. He's had a ton of success in college. He's turned Tennessee into a major powerhouse. They won the national championship in 2024. So that's an interesting one, because that's a completely out of the box thought. Doesn't mean that the Giants aren't thinking about that. I don't know. I haven't heard a lot of verification on any interest in Tony Vitello, but he's never coached professionally. He's been in the college ranks pretty much his entire coaching career, but he's very charismatic. He's supposed to be a super sharp guy. But again, that's one of those hires where, because it's so out of the box, doesn't mean it couldn't work. I mean, that's not, but it's so out of the box that you don't want it to not work, because then you're going to look bad. But if you take a shot and it does work, then you look like a genius. You pulled this guy out of college and you read the room and said he fits. He can manage at the big league level. But there's a risk reward there when you do something like that with this guy. Doesn't mean it would be a bad move, but I'm just saying, because it's such an out of the box move, that it's going to be a little more scrutinized, I think, by everybody. And if it doesn't work, you're going to take a beating, because you hired a college guy. But if it works, you're gonna be like, man, you guys saw that so much more than other people. So it's interesting, but you'd be taking a big risk. You'd be taking a chance. So I we'll see what happens there. We'll see if that name does indeed pop up. If I hear anything about that, I will certainly pass it on. We've heard Mark DeRosa. We see Mark all the time on the MLB Network. He's phenomenal on the MLB Network. I mean, they have a lot of good people on those shows. He, to me, is by far the best. And he has managed. I mean, he's the Team USA manager for the World Baseball Classic. So, and he has said he would like to manage if it's it's got to be just the right, these guys, listen, he's got a good job. He's, he can sit in front of the camera for a couple hours every day, make good money. Do you want the pressure of managing 162 games? Some guys are maybe they don't want that. But I think Mark DeRosa, if it was the perfect situation, I think he would jump in somewhere. He lives on the East Coast, but I think he would be terrific. He's ready to manage at the big league level. He was a very good player, played for the Giants for a couple of years. Sharp guy, gets it, knows how to relate. He was a great clubhouse guy as a player. But again, we don't know what Mark DeRosa's thinking. We don't know what any of these guys are thinking. And again, I have not heard any other names really. It's fairly early in this process for the Giants. But I'm keeping my nose to the grindstone, listening to see what's out there. Who are they bringing? But they're pretty secretive. They're pretty quiet. The Giants, they keep these things under wraps pretty well, and I have no problem with that. But they're diving deep into this process, and it's a very, very big decision on who you're going to bring in. And we've seen that. Listen, we've seen some really good managers here. Bochy was great. Dusty was great. Felipe Alou was a really good manager. But we've also seen where it doesn't work. Gabe Kapler was not popular. Doesn't mean he was a bad manager. He just was not popular. I think we all thought there would be more success under Bob Melvin. Bob's a very good manager, but the success wasn't there that I guess everybody thought. So it's a huge, huge decision by the Giants front office on this, and I'm very curious to see which way they go. And so we're going to keep a very, very close eye on that each and every time we do a show. So let's get to some comments about this manager's search. Okay, let's start with Cole. Cole, hey, Glenn, what are your thoughts on Buster's rumored preference for an ex-catcher as the manager? Yeah, that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of ex-catchers that are managers. There's a ton of them. I do think catchers see the game differently. They're if you think about it, a catcher has to be locked in on every pitch. And that's sort of the way you are as a manager, right? You have to lock in on every pitch. So I don't think it's strange at all. It doesn't surprise me. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there was an ex-catcher hired as the manager. But there's a lot of them out there, right? If you start just going down the list. So no, I'm not surprised by that at all. And I think too, like the Hundley thing, I think Buster wants to feel a close relationship with who he hires. And I think that's going to be an important thing. And if the guy's an ex-catcher, I think that'll probably help. But I do think that's a thing. But I think that's a thing within a lot of organizations. So let's see. Coach says, Glenn, how come Ron Wotus never had a chance to manage? That's a good question, Coach. And I think, he's interviewed for a lot of different openings. He's interviewed with the Giants for openings. He just really never got a break. He never got a shot to manage. And Ronnie's been around a long, long time. Listen, if he's helping Buster as a special assistant, to the GM Zach and Buster. So he's in their circle of trust, so to speak. Ronnie is, and will he may get an interview? That wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't know that he's going to be a leading candidate. I think Ronnie would do fine as a manager. But I don't know that I don't see that happening, unfortunately, because I like Ron a lot. He's a really sharp baseball guy. But here's the way it is. If a guy like Ron Wotus hasn't got his opportunity to manage yet, unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen. I think that's just kind of reality to the baseball world and sports in general. And that maybe not fair. I don't know, but that would be my opinion about that. If it hasn't happened yet, I'm not sure that it's going to. So, all right, let's show some other ones. This is from Gary. Albert Pujols will attract a lot of attention to the Angels. Not that often you get a Hall of Fame player as manager. No, it doesn't. And it doesn't mean that because you're a great player, you're going to be a great manager. We've seen that not work. But Albert, he'll get a ton of respect. It's something that it sounds like he wants to do because he has done some managing, not at the major league level, but on some Dominican teams and that kind of thing. So if he's doing that, that tells me that he wants to manage at the big league level, because Albert Pujols made more money than, he doesn't need anything. He could shut it down and go home and watch games on TV and enjoy himself. But he wants to be in the game, and it looks like he wants to be a manager. So, yeah, and listen, sometimes these things too, you want to make you want the fans to like it. I mean, that's reality. It's public relations. And I think Albert, would be a popular choice among Angels fans as well. So we'll see how that goes. Bake that dough. Checking in. Stars seem to be aligning for former Willie Mac winner Nick Hundley, but wouldn't surprise me if someone totally different. Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe they're aligning. Again, I just think, I don't know that, and I don't think any of us know if Nick wants to manage, right? I think if he does, if he says, yeah, I want to manage, then I think he's probably got a decent chance to get the job. But we just don't know, how he feels. But we do know that, and people's resume, when I see somebody's resume, it's really more about what do people in the baseball world see in a guy. And everybody raves about Nick Hundley's, he's sharp, gets it, baseball guy through and through. So that resume, whatever that means, is pretty strong with Nick Hundley, even though he's still a fairly young guy, but he's in the mix, so, there's no question about that. The Braves job will be a good one for whoever gets it. I agree with that, Gary. That team has a ton of talent, a lot of injuries this season, and is likely to bounce back next season. I would, yeah, and I said that's an attractive job. Yeah, and somebody's going to get that. Somebody's going to be really happy. It'll probably be somebody that we've heard of. Who knows? Maybe it's DeRosa. He lives down in that area. So who knows? But yeah, that's definitely an attractive job. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's see. You know what? Just because we like to take care of our people, freshly baked cookies, that would make sense. He played there for quite a while and knows the organization. The reason I'm reading that, Gary, is because I want people to know Bake That Dough makes terrific freshly baked cookies. If you're a cookie guy, check out their website. All right. Okay. You know what? I appreciate the good responses. Thank you very much for your comments on the managerial search for not just the Giants, but for these other teams as well. And it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to just kind of sitting back and seeing, what the heck happens. So, all right, let's move on to the postseason, which is in full swing. We're enjoying the heck out of it. At least I am. But we want to still start the American League, because the American League Division Series, two of them, they've played 2 games. National League Division Series have each played just 1 game. So let's start with the Yankees and the Blue Jays. What the heck is going on in Toronto? The Blue Jays have smoked the Yankees in the first 2 games of this division series. Are we surprised? I don't know. They finished the regular season with the same record, right? But the Blue Jays won the tiebreaker, so they get the home field in the first 2 games of the series and Game 5 if they get there. Now, the Yankees, they may not get there. What has happened in the first 2 games of the series? Anytime there's 2 blowouts, when 2 good teams are playing and evenly matched teams are playing, I think you're always surprised in the postseason. Just once in a while, you get 1 blow up and 2. Game 1, the Blue Jays won 10-1. Home runs early. Vlad lights up the place with an early home run, and again, this was yesterday. And then the Blue Jays scored a bunch of runs late. Kirk hits a couple of home runs. The Yankees bullpen gets hit hard. Everybody was worried about the Yankees bullpen. Well, they got beat up in Game 1 of that series yesterday. The Rogers Center, was there a lot with the A's. We went there every year for I was there for 22 years, and every year we went to Toronto. And it's going to be a tough place to play. It's a great atmosphere in that building. They get big crowds, 46, 47,000, and it's loud. And they are good fans. They get into it. It's a great atmosphere. And you could see it in these 2 games, the one last night and the one today. So Blue Jays win Game 1, 10-1. Come to today, Yankees got a chance to tie the series, get back to Yankee Stadium. You feel pretty good, right? Not happening. And this was an interesting game. The final score was the Blue Jays 13 and the Yankees 7. But, there was 13-7, right? Kind of a blowout, right? But it was 11-0 Blue Jays after 4 innings. And they did it again. They just got out early and started swinging it. So it's 11-0 after 4 innings. The Yankees don't even know what the hell happened to them, right? It's like, whoa, what? But when it was all said and done, but the story in this game was the kid who started for the Toronto Blue Jays. His name is Trey Yasevich, okay? And I had been reading about him a little bit because he's one of the top prospects for the Blue Jays, and then they called him up late. But this kid made 3 big league starts in 2025, and he did a pretty good job. But again, prospect, everybody loves him in Toronto. They're like, this kid's going to be really good. So here it is, game 2 of the division series, and they throw him out there, and he is nasty. I mean, nasty, right? Look at his final line. 5 1/3 innings, no hits, 11 strikeouts. He punches out 11. Doesn't give up a hit. He's the winning pitcher, and the kid is super fun to watch because it's a little bit of a funky delivery. He's right over the top, right? And most guys are, kind of 3/4 here, but he's right here, kind of like Verlander's right here. And he's got a nasty split finger. It just died. And the Yankees had no shot. I mean, it's there and it's gone. And they just had no shot. And this kid and the crowd was going crazy. He was pumped up. It was a great scene. I want to watch the kid pitch again. And then the Yankees throw Max Fried, a guy who's going to get Cy Young votes. Terrific year. And he gives up 7 runs in 3 innings. And he was really good. You remember in the wild card series. But Max Fried's a terrific pitcher. No shot today. No shot. So the kid, Yasevich, was dynamite. Vlad Guerrero today hits a grand slam. He's been going off in the series. But man, I don't even know what to say. Today, 13 runs, 15 hits, and 5 home runs by the Toronto Blue Jays against the Yankees. In this series, 23 runs, 29 hits, and 8 home runs for the Blue Jays against the Yankees. Craziness, man. Crazy. So the Jays are up 2-0. Game 3 is Tuesday. Shane Bieber, Carlos Rodon at Yankee Stadium. Yankees are down 2-0. So believe it or not, the Blue Jays, it's a best of 5, folks. If Bieber can beat Rodon, Blue Jays win that, they move on to the ALCS with home field advantage. So there's going to be a crazy, crazy night Tuesday night at Yankee Stadium. Desperate times for the Yanks. And the Blue Jays, they just have to win 1 of the final 3, and they move on. So we'll see if they can do it. But, man, have the Blue Jays been impressive in the first 2 games of the series. You just get rolling. And, Vladimir Guerrero's had a terrific first 2 games of the series. So your big man is wheeling and dealing, and everybody's chipping in, and you just got the Yankees there on the rope. So anyways, that's where that series is at. The other AL Division Series has seen 2 awesome baseball games. I mean, you just like good, tense, tight baseball games, then you like the Tigers and the Mariners series. Okay, first 2 games in Seattle. Last night, the Tigers win 3-2 in 11 innings. 3-2, 11 innings. They get a Zach McKinstry 2-out RBI single in the 11th inning. That was the difference in the game. But remember, extra innings, right? Well, they don't do the runner at second base, the Manfred man at second base in the postseason. That rule, which a lot of people don't like in the regular season, where you get an automatic runner at second base. That is not happening in the postseason. Back to the old time. You got to create your own rally, baby. You're not handed a rally with a guy at second base. So the Tigers, they got that run in the 11th inning. They held on. Both bullpens were great. Just a tight game. Great viewing. but the Tigers win it. So now you go to today, and the Mariners like, man, we just lost at home. We got to win a game at home and get out of here with a split, right? So again, tight game. Final score: Mariners win 3-2. So both scores in this series 3-2. Tigers win game 1, Mariners win game 2, and here's the big thing for Seattle. They were able to win a game that the Tigers started Skubal. Tarek Skubal started tonight, and he was very good. 7 innings, couple of runs, 9 strikeouts. Skubal was Skubal. He was great. But, man, if you can win a game where Skubal starts, that is huge. And the Mariners were able to do that today. And I don't want to say unsung hero because the guy had a really good year. Jorge Polanco, switch hitting second baseman for the Seattle Mariners. He hit 2 home runs off Skubal. Hit one in the 4th inning, hit one in the 6th inning. And that was it. And the Mariners or the Tigers were able to tie it. But Julio Rodriguez got a big hit in the bottom of the 8th. And that was it. 3-2 final. Terrific baseball games, both of them. But Polanco kind of the hero. But let's not overlook Polanco had 26 home runs this year in the regular season. So he's got some pop. He's been around a long time. But he's the hero tonight as he got Skubal twice to help the Mariners even up that series. So it's been great. Just two grindy teams. They're just grinding, right? Good pitching. The bullpens have been great. It's been fun to watch. And so tied at 1 that series. They'll get tomorrow off. And game 3 will be Tuesday night. And the last thing I saw, Logan Gilbert's going to pitch for the Mariners. The Tigers had not yet announced it. It could be out now. I'm not sure. But I did not see that as of right before we were going on. But anyways, so tomorrow's off. Game 3, Tuesday night in Detroit with the Tigers and the Mariners tied at a game apiece. So that is what is going on in the American League Division Series. So one series a blowout so far. The other series just good, tense baseball. Which whatever you like, you're seeing it. So let's go to the National League. A little bit different here because the National League, the series Cubs and Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies, they played Saturday, but they had today off. They'll resume their series with game 2 of each series tomorrow. Okay, so they had kind of a funky deal where they had today off. Major League Baseball doesn't want to put all these series. They don't want to put 4 series games up against the NFL on a Sunday, if that makes sense. So anyways, so let's start with the Cubs and the Brewers. Another blowout. Brewers beat the Cubs in Milwaukee yesterday in game 1 of that series by a final score of 9-3. I thought this was interesting. The Cubs started Matthew Boyd. Matthew Boyd's a very good pitcher, but they started him on 3 days rest. I never like when teams do this in the postseason. I know it works sometimes, but more often than not, it doesn't work because it throws a pitcher out of whack, but sometimes you have to do it. But here it was game 1 of the series, and Matthew Boyd goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up 6 runs. Now, there was a costly error, so only 2 of those runs were earned, but still, Boyd on 3 days rest to start the series. That's what surprised me. And it didn't work. It backfired. He got knocked out first inning. Brewers just came out swinging. They ended up with 13 hits. They had 5 walks. They did what the Brewers do. They had 13 hits. They had base runners all over the place, base hits everywhere, putting the ball in play. They had 17 at-bats with runners in scoring position. They do all this damage, and they hit 0 home runs. And the Brewers are tough to defend because of that. They hit, they put it in play. They're aggressive on the bases. They're a lot of fun to watch. It was 9-0 after 2 innings in this game. So anyways, the only bad news for the Brewers, Jackson Churio, their terrific young center fielder, a little hamstring early in the game. So I don't know. We haven't heard yet, but a hamstring is listen, you're going to come back 2 days later. So that's something to watch for. Brewers may be without Churio for a little while. We'll keep an eye on that. But so these two teams will square off tomorrow in Milwaukee, with the Brewers leading the series 1-0. It'll be Shota Imanaga, the lefty for the Cubs, against Aaron Ashby, who made just one start. So this could be maybe like an opener kind of thing for Milwaukee. We'll see what they do there. If they're looking to get a couple innings there and go to their bullpen, I'm not sure. They got the Mizorowski kid who could come in. No, but he has not been quite as dominant as he was early enough. But this could be a game where you see the Miz, they like to call him in Milwaukee, Mizorowski. So anyways, so that's where that's at. We'll see game 2 tomorrow in Milwaukee, Cubs and Brewers. Looking forward to that. And then the Dodgers and the Phillies, a terrific game last night. Dodgers win 5-3 in game 1 of that series. Shohei Ohtani was the starting pitcher. He got the win. He was terrific. His first time pitching in the postseason. He goes 6 innings, gives up 3 hits, 3 runs, and 9 strikeouts. He threw 89 pitches. Listen, I just put out a long video about Shohei Ohtani that he's the best. He's the best spectacle in baseball, obviously by far, and maybe the best thing to watch ever in Major League Baseball. Really, I mean, let's be realistic. So he didn't hit. He went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. But think about that. Shohei Ohtani, the leadoff hitter for the Dodgers, goes 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, and we're still praising him. But we're praising him because of what he did as the starting pitcher in game 1 of the division series. That's why he's the best show out there, and maybe the best show ever in Major League Baseball. Think about that. Okay, so and if the Dodgers did what they do to so many teams, we've seen them do it to the Giants. They fall behind 3-0. Okay, but they don't care. It doesn't. They're unaffected. They're so talented and so confident. They're unaffected. Okay, so they fight back. They get it to 3-2, and then what happens? Somebody hits a big home run. In this case, Teoscar Hernandez. How many times have we seen the Dodgers do that to a team? Because they hit so many home runs and they're so dangerous up and down their lineup. So what happens? They claw back a little bit, and then bam, somebody homers, and that's all it did. That there was a 3-run homer late. That's it. Game's over, 5-3. And again, they beat Christopher Sanchez, terrific lefty for the Phillies. He's a Cy Young candidate. So it's just what the Dodgers do. They're so incredibly confident that they are quite sure they're going to win every game. And the Dodgers bullpen was good. That's that one area that we all kind of like, well, I don't know. But remember we were talking about the Dodgers, and I mentioned the fact that they got the young man Sasaki healthy, right? Roki Sasaki, been injured, struggling some. So they put him in the bullpen, and he got the save. If he's good, they're going to be hard to beat because their starting pitching is so deep. And the one question mark they have is their bullpen. And if you have somebody who can solidify that, that to me, that's huge. So these two teams, Dodgers and the Phillies, will play again tomorrow, game 2 of the series, and it'll be in Philadelphia with the Dodgers up 1-0, and it'll be Blake Snell and Jesus Luzardo, a couple of terrific left-handers. So that's a marquee pitching matchup. This is something I wanted to mention about this series. We talked about the fact that the National League series has the day off today. Okay, so what that allows in this series, right, and also in the Cubs and the Brewers series, is it gives the teams 3 off days within their series. Okay, if this were to go 5 games, these teams get Sunday off, Tuesday off, and Friday off. Okay, the American League Division Series, which is shaped a little different, they just don't want to have too many games on the same day. That's why it is the way it is. But those two series in the American League only have 2 days off. Okay, so why does that make a difference? Well, I think it helps the Dodgers a lot. Okay, because they have 3 days off. That will allow them, if they so choose to do, is they're going to throw Snell tomorrow. So you got Ohtani, Snell. They have Yamamoto scheduled for game 3. Okay. But if you think about this, with game 4 not being played till Thursday and Ohtani pitched on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days rest, regular rest for Ohtani, they can bring him back and have him pitch game 4 on Thursday, right? Again, there's an extra day off within these 2 National League Division series. So the Dodgers will be able to go Ohtani again in game 4 and Blake Snell in game 5. So they only need to use 3 starters, and you think about who those 3 are: Ohtani, Snell, Yamamoto. And then you come back with Ohtani and Snell if the series goes games 4 and 5. That extra day off allows the Dodgers to do that. I think that's a huge advantage. And their advantage is that they have very good top level starting pitching. So they don't even have to pitch Glass now in this series. That's a big advantage, I think, for the Dodgers, because they have this stable of terrific starting pitchers. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Phillies can bounce back. They certainly need to bounce back. Otherwise, they're in big trouble. You can't go down 2-0 to Dodger and then go to Dodger Stadium. It's just, listen, crazy things have happened, but that's tough. So anyways, let's get some comments in about the series that are going on. Hold on a minute. All right, let's see. Let's check in. Gary says the Blue Jays are doing it without Bo Bichette. Exactly. Bo Bichette, one of the best shortstops in all of baseball. He's hurt. And I'm not sure they know when he's going to be back. Ernie Clement hit a home run. Ernie Clement is taking over. That's what happens when you're the Blue Jays and you're rolling. But they are indeed without Bo Bichette. And I had it written down somewhere where when was Bichette going to be back? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I read a couple different places, a couple different spots where they thought he could be back. But anyways, it hasn't bothered the Blue Jays, but we'll see if they can indeed, get him back. I don't know. We'll see. Blue Jays are impressive in all facets of the game, especially fundamentals and making contact. What a novel thing, huh? Bake that dough. What a great idea. Fundamentals and contact. Tribe says, people comparing choke or Scooble to Mad Bum. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm not a big fan of the word choke. I don't know. I just don't. I mean, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that word. I think that's a little unfair to guys. The Mariners lose the game when Scooble doesn't pitch and win the game when Scooble does pitch. Go figure. Ain't that the truth? But I'm serious. If you can win in a series, if you can win a game where a dominant pitcher pitches against you, that could be huge. And they may listen. If that series goes to 5, Scooble's going to pitch game 5. He'll be rested, normal rest. So the Tigers probably, if you're the Tigers, you feel good because now you're going home. It's a split, but you're going to play 2 at home. And then if it even does go to game 5, you have Scooble lined up to pitch the deciding game, the game 5. So Detroit feels pretty good, where they're at. And, you can't blame them. They've set themselves up, certainly nicely with that. But still got to win, 3 out of 5. ER says, rookie Sasaki is a weapon out of the pen. Yes, he is. He could be trouble for any team if the Dodgers have the lead. Absolutely. I think, and remember I said this, I think that is a huge, huge thing right there for the Dodgers. Because you know what? He's a starter. And I know he's been hurt and he's just coming back. But you're at the point in the postseason now, if you have some question marks in the bullpen, Okay. But you have a guy at the end who isn't a question mark. You can throw him 2 innings, right? And this guy's a starter. And remember what I said about that extra day off that the Dodgers are getting, and the Phillies and the Cubs and the Brewers. That helps your bullpen. And if you have a guy that you're like, we're going to lean on this guy, we're going to lean on him. We may need 2 innings out of him. If there's an extra, off day in there, that's a big deal. So again, listen, I just, the Dodgers to me are super scary. They're to me, they're the scariest team in this group of 8. There's really no doubt about it. All right, let's see. How about Bowles' old man Dante and those tanks he did? That's a great call. I mean, remember the days you'd go to Coors Field, maybe the Giants were playing there in a 3-game series, and you'd have to face Galarraga. Think about this: Andres Galarraga, Larry Walker, Dante Bichette, and Vinny Castilla, the third baseman. I mean, think about that. And they put on a show. Dante Bichette was super fun to watch because he would let it go, man. He would. Dante Bichette said, "I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to swing super hard because what I really like to do is hit a very, very long home run." That was Dante Bichette's. That was his MO. Let it rip, baby. Okay, we're going to finish the show. Something fun. We'll get through this quickly and then say goodnight. I wanted to look at the 4 teams that lost in the postseason in the wild card round: Guardians, Red Sox, Reds, and Padres. Are they going to be okay? Are they going to be okay? Let's check on those 2 teams. They all got bounced early and see how they feel. The Guardians, of course, it was the great story, greatest comeback in Major League Baseball history. They had a 15.5-game deficit, and they came back and they won the division. They've been a regular. Guardians have been in the postseason 7 out of the last 10 years. We're used to having them there. We're also used to them just coming up short. Remember, they were so close to getting their first world championship since 1948 when the Cubs beat them. Was it 2016? So are they okay moving forward as we look ahead to 2026? Will the Guardians be back in the mix? Yeah, I think they will. Their front office does a terrific job of drafting and developing young pitching. And they just keep bringing guys every single year. It's crazy. So they got that going for them. They got a good young rotation. They got a star player in Jose Ramirez. So you have the groundwork that's there. If you have good starting pitching and you continue to develop young starters, they got that right there is going to help you win a lot of games. Ramirez is terrific. They never have a high payroll. That just is not the way they operate. They're never going to operate that way. And because of that, keep an eye on Stephen Kwan this offseason. Everybody wants Stephen Kwan. Giants would love to have Stephen Kwan. The Dodgers would love to have Stephen Kwan. He's a very good player. To me, he's the exact kind of player that the Dodgers need, or that the Giants need in their outfield. I've said it before. I don't know that they can get him. He's going to cost a lot in a trade, but it's going to be interesting to see, because the Guardians are going to get offers on Stephen Kwan that are going to be very, very attractive. They just are. I hope the Giants make an attractive offer, because he's exactly what they need. He's terrific in the outfield. He makes a lot of contact, doesn't rely on home runs, sprays the ball around, runs the bases well. He's got a very good arm. And to me, he's a energy guy. He's an exciting player. He's exactly what they need. Now, the question is, would they be able to trade for him? I don't know. But anyways, getting back to the Guardians, they're going to get major offers on Stephen Kwan. If you traded for Stephen Kwan, you'd have him in 2026 and you'd have him in 2027. He's a free agent after 2027. So you'd have him for 2 years. They're going to get offers on him. And it's going to be interesting to see if they hold on. But anyways, Detroit's going to stay good. Kansas City, a lot of young talent. And Kansas City's got talent coming. So the AL Central will remain interesting with the Tigers and the Royals and the Guardians. But as one of the teams that got knocked out early, I think the Guardians will remain very much like the Guardians. They will be a good team. Stephen Vogt's been terrific there, and they will continue to compete for division titles. But the one thing they need to do is they need to figure out how to score more runs. I was really surprised when I saw where they scored the fewest runs in the American League and still won the division. But I think to go to the next level, they need to figure out a way to score more runs because I think they'll always pitch. So that's my take on the Guardians. The Red Sox, of course, they win game 1 against the Yankees. They're feeling pretty good, but they lose game 3, or they lose game 2. They lose game 3 at Yankee Stadium, and the Red Sox go home. How are they set up for next year and the future? I think Boston is set up incredibly well. They got this young talent. Roman Anthony's going to be a star. They got Marcelo Meyer, young kid infielder. The center fielder Rafaela is a good-looking young player. So they have this group of young players that's just getting to the big leagues. Christian Campbell, who struggled in the big leagues, but he's a talented young prospect. So they have that going for them. They have a stud in Crochet. They got some young starters that they like a lot. Maybe I don't want to say the future all depends on this, but they need Bregman back. Of course, Alex Bregman has an opt-out of his contract. He's going to opt out. He's going to want a big contract. It's going to be his last contract. So you're going to have to dish out a 5 or 6 year deal probably for Bregman, who's 31 years old, but he's a terrific player. Banged up a little bit this year, but if you can keep Bregman, you're going to have to open up the bank. But if you can keep him as your core cornerstone guy with these young players mixed in around him, then I think that will go a long way in keeping the Red Sox in contact with the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Because listen, big deal for the Red Sox to get back to the postseason, and they have these young players, and the young players are going to continue to get better. And then they have money; they can add to it a little bit. But I think keeping Bregman is a big deal, and we'll see if they can do that because he's going to be out in the open market, and there's going to be teams that are going to want Bregman, and there just are. But they're not losing a lot of people in free agency, so they're fine there. So I think the Red Sox are in a good spot, and I think they have a chance to get better, and they could win that division next year. If they could keep Bregman and get a couple of their young pitchers rolling, where they can be 170, 180 inning guys. We'll see if they can do that. So I think the Red Sox are in a good spot. Cincinnati Reds, they unfortunately, got the Dodgers in that wild card series. It wasn't pretty. They gave up 18 runs in 2 games. Dodgers, swept them. But the Reds, I was impressed. And again, they're a very young team. They're not a super high payroll team. They never have been. I don't think they ever will be. But they have, again, like the Guardians, they have this young rotation to build around. Young rotation, and they got some good young players. They get De La Cruz, who's going to be a star. So again, things are in place. They're not losing anybody in free agency. So there's no reason that the Reds, they're not quite a polished product just yet, but they're getting close. And Francona will guide the ship. So again, I think this is another team in the National League that's in a good spot for the future. Are they ready to compete with the Dodgers and the Phillies? No, but they're going in the right direction. You got to get to a point where you feel like, well, over the course of a long season, I may not win more games than the Phillies and the Dodgers, but if I got them in a 3 or a 5 or a 7 game series, you know what? We could win that series. That's where you have to get to, because the postseason is what it's all about. And I think the Reds are close, but they need to add a few things and keep that young rotation healthy. And if they can do that, they're going to be a good team. And now they know that, listen, we got to the postseason. We know what it takes. We need more. We need more. And then lastly, the San Diego Padres, which they're such an interesting team for me. They lose 2-1 to the Cubs. Cubs move on in their wild card series. Offense kind of got shut down a little bit. That's been the case a little weird with the Padres. They weren't scoring runs early. Offense got a little bit better. But then, that offense in the postseason kind of slowed down. But anyways, the Padres are a very interesting team to me. And I've praised them as a whole organization. And I've also criticized them some. And listen, they won 90 games. I mean, they're a very talented team. And the front office, to their credit, they have turned San Diego into a baseball town. If you haven't been, and I'm sure many of our viewers have been, you go down there for a series or something, but they've turned it into a baseball town. Players want to go there. The stadium is awesome. The crowds are awesome. The weather's great. It's a destination for players. And who wouldn't want to play there, right? And they have a very, very good team. But it's also a team that, with all this, and they have all these they have a really good, talented team, right? They have Manny Machado signed till he's 41 years old. They have Xander Bogaerts signed till he's 41 years old. They have Fernando Tatis signed till he's 35. They have Jake Cronenworth signed till he's 36. They have Jackson Merrill signed till 2034, which is good. He's a terrific young player. I'm not criticizing this. I'm just saying these guys are going to be here for a long, long time, and they're going to get older and older and older. And I'll get to my point in a minute. Yu Darvish is signed till he's 42. So my point is they have guys that are signed very long term. At the end of those contracts, the contracts probably won't be great, but none of the long-term contracts are great. None of them. But so they're in this spot right now where I think they need to do something they've never done before, and that's win a World Series. They have a window. They have this talented team signed long-term, but those guys are young yet, or they're in the middle of their careers. They've shown a willingness to spend money big time. They have the revenue stream with the ballpark. They have the fans. They have everything lined up. They need to win a World Series. And I know it's easy to say, right? Very difficult to do. But this is an organization that has been around a long time, right? And they've never won a World Series, and they haven't been to one since 1998. That's a long time. And now where they're at, they have elevated themselves as an organization to, I think one of the better organizations out there. But here's the thing that I've always been a little annoyed with is we hear it every year. The Padres win the off season. They make these trades and they get guys. It's great. But we hear it every year. Padres win the off season. And then, you go to the winter meetings and the Padres make a couple big splashes and they've won the off season. And then you get to the trade deadline and it's the same thing. AJ Preller makes all these moves and they win the trade deadline. Happens almost every year. It's the Padres. They won the trade deadline this year. They got O'Hearn, they got Laureano, they got Miller. They needed it, guys, and they got them. That's great. You win the trade deadline. You win the offseason. But then when it comes to postseason, they need to win the postseason. Okay? Good organization. All this is going for them. That's my point. My point is they have all this going for them. They need to win the postseason. Not the offseason, not the trade deadline. The postseason. And they need to put a world championship in San Diego for the first time ever. And if they don't do that, then all the winning of the post, or all the great trades and all the signing guys long, and does it matter? Reward the fans that have turned this into a baseball town. And again, I mean that's just my thing. It's like something goes wrong when the postseason hits for the Padres. And that needs to change because it's all lined up for them to be able to change it. Does that make sense? So anyways, those are, but listen, the Padres have these players here, and they're not going anywhere, and they'll continue to be a good team. But at some point, they need to ring the big bell, as we like to say. And I think we know what that means. So, anyways, those are my 4 teams that are out of the wild card, but I think all 4 will be in the mix next year. Nobody's losing a whole bunch of guys or trading guy there. They'll all be around, which is good because they're all kind of, in my opinion, they're all fun teams to watch. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But we got a lot of postseason left to go here, and it's been fun so far. And you know what? I've enjoyed the postseason so far, and a lot of baseball you'll have to play. So, anyways, so that's it for the show tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. We covered strictly baseball. We'll be back on Tuesday night. John Shea's going to join me. You know, John Shea used to be with the San Francisco Chronicle. He's covered baseball in the Bay Area for many, many years. Now he's with the San Francisco Standard. So John said he would stop by, and we'll have a whole bunch of fun things to talk about. So anyways, that's it for tonight's show. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and again, keep going to the YouTube channel. We are pumping out videos. We got a great one on Shohei Ohtani right now. I think that you'll enjoy. The Friday Night Kuiper shows are all out audio. So head on over and check it out. You guys have been a great audience. All right, sponsor time. As an investor, one of the best places to put your money is California's multifamily real estate. That's what the good people from Tilden Properties do. They're Bay Area based, they're family owned, and they have been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Give Tilden Properties a call at 925-209-8558 and look at their portfolio at their website, tildenproperties.com. You will be impressed. Also brought to you by the Kehrig Real Estate Team, whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making that first family purchase home. Trust the Kehrig Real Estate Team. They will guide you home. Contact Mike Kehrig today. He will give you a free home sale or purchase consultation. Call Mike at 925-548-4132 and go to their website, kehrigteam.com. And last but certainly not least, we're brought to you by Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged on your property insurance? Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance, 925-433-8271. That is it for the show. I appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you Tuesday night with another edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. Have a good night, everybody.